It's Time to Talk Day on Thursday, and Rob Edwards is joining us from LIFECYCLE Coaching in Sandbach. She's helped us all the way through the pandemic here at Radio Stoke. Rob, can I just say a massive apology for yesterday?
You don't have to apologise, Lou, at all. It's nice to be back again, actually. It's nice to have a bit more time, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a funny day yesterday because we knew that there was going to be a press conference at Downing Street, and we knew it'd be about 3:30. And I think as soon as you know that, we're all rushing on. We go, blah, 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 blah. And I thought, no, this is, I know it was all about what was happening at Downing Street yesterday, but I thought out of courtesy, we would like to get you back on so we can actually, I just think, get everybody talking really and knowing how we can help people a little bit better. And you're the man that's given us so much good advice.
Oh, bless you. Well, it's actually a credit to you guys at Radio Stoke. It's an example of, if the first time you try to talk these things through, for whatever reason, whether it's Boris and his parties and his news conferences or something simpler than that, if it's not working, go again. It's not all on one event. It's not all on one occasion. It's okay to ask again and to go again. So it's a credit to you guys at Radio Stoke, actually. That's
really kind. And obviously I work with Tom, and we do talk a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
About how we're feeling and stuff. And this is the thing of knowing how to be there when someone wants to speak. Like you've just said, Rob, if a conversation got cut dead, say I'd completely opened up and you're at your most vulnerable of saying, look, I feel really overwhelmed and feeling really low today. Yep. If somebody said, well, hang on a minute, I've just got to go Tesco or something, I think I'd shut back down again then. I don't know if I could then have the conversation again with the same person.
I know. It's reading those signs and reading those signals. Hello, Tom, by the way. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm not too bad, thanks. How are you, Rob?
Good, really good. Thank you, mate. Really good. When you did the introduction, it was really interesting because you mentioned about listening, right? And on Thursday, it's Time to Talk Day, right? So there's an emphasis on talking, but that's not always easy to do. I wish it was called Time to Listen Day, because that will put the emphasis somewhere else. It will put the emphasis on us as a supportive resource to listen, as opposed to pressurising other people to talk. So it's about noticing, first of all. Like you say, if you come into work one day and you're just not right, it's about noticing that. And if we see something in other people, then we ask. We're not tuned into asking.
I think you can, if you can read people, you can tell with certain people if they're not right, can't you? And it's a weird thing. It was one of my old bosses. He used to go to me, I know when you're not right. He said, because you accelerate even further to try and cover up. And I went, oh, that's interesting. I didn't even know I did it.
Yeah, it's really good. He's obviously got a degree of emotional intelligence. We measure IQ quite a lot. When you look into the workplace, we are recruited on our technical capabilities to do the job, right? So you're obviously very good at what you do. Tom, you're very good at what you do. Otherwise, you won't be working for the BBC. But we don't always take into account EQ levels, emotional intelligence levels. And that's, reading other people and, understanding when they're not feeling great. And then if we do have that feeling about that, having the courage to ask and open up and create the environment where they know they're being supported.
With you, this is the job that you do. And I'm saying I know, I don't want to assume here. I think, like Tom, I think you'd open up to Rob, wouldn't you? Because you trust him and you think, well, he knows what he's on about.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
But what about somebody else? Like if you wanted to turn to one of your mates, what would you do then?
See, the person that I can talk to most openly is my mum. Definitely, I find most comfortable too. But yeah, like one or two of my mates as well, I can talk to say that I'm struggling, maybe not open up quite as much. But yeah.
So how, like in that situation, Rob, anybody listening that does need to have a conversation, because it can choke you. You have to be quite brave to have the conversation. In that situation, how does Tom's mum not emotionally take that on board and then go to bed worried about Tom? How do we stop that, so we can just listen?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. It's about maintaining it, and I'm a mental health first aid instructor, right? And I'm a Neuro change master practitioner, so I'm working with this all the time. That person who is offering that support also has to have their support mechanisms as well. It's not their job to take it on. It's not their job to fix or to solve for the other person. It's their job, in effect, to understand and to accept and to not judge that other person. I think one of the biggest fears that we have about opening up about our insecurities or, our weaknesses, if they're, sometimes called that incorrectly, I think, we get fearful about being judged. But that person who is listening needs to be kind. They need to listen to them. They need to show that they've heard them, check that you've understood what they're saying, and don't judge them. Take it seriously, because whatever they're feeling, you might not get it, you might not understand it, but it's very, very real to them.
I don't think it matters if you're going to school or going to work or whatever your situation is. I think we've really got to be aware to treat people kindly, even how are you, very simple things, because after this last 2 years, people have had enough, haven't they? Life's hard enough without then, nitpicking and uncomfortable conversation. It is just about being kind half the time.
It's about being kind. It's about understanding our responsibilities. But of one of the courses that I run, I ask people at the end, if only I had known, right? And it's people who've had, mental illnesses, and I ask them to reflect at the end of the course and say, if only I'd known this, what does that prompt in you? And it creates some really interesting perspectives. People say things like, if only I had known, ... that I didn't need to feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
If only I'd known that others felt the same as me and that there's help available out there. If only I'd known that I could trust someone. If only I'd known that fear is the biggest barrier here.
It is, and that's what we're saying. It's easier sometimes to hide away. We're 2 days away from the Time to Talk Day. For anybody that's listening that is worried about someone in their family or their friends, there's loads of tips and advice on your website. And I know humour is a huge part of it as well, with the conversations between you and your son. What's the best way to find you, Rob?
You can go to lifecyclecoaching.co.uk. You can find us on there.